There we go. Best behaviour, everybody. I don't have to tell you that. You should know by now.
Oh, I'm just going to shut the door because clock's gone in.
Oh, we're on our best behaviour, and the first thing she does is go and shut the door.
Does she have a water, Wayne? That's the question.
Eh?
No, so let's hope I don't cough. I'll
Okay.
just mute if I do.
So here we are, a bunch of Terra Australis state nationals trying to change the world in some small way.
For the
Uh,
better.
yeah, for the better. Yeah, for the better, not for the worse. So we've got Ray from WA. We've got Wayno on Darwin, that's me. We've got Sarah from somewhere down the bottom of the country in Victoria. We've got Anita from WA. We've got Sue also from somewhere down the bottom of the country in Victoria, just up the road from Sarah. We've got Suzanne, who's also down the bottom of the country there somewhere, probably just up the road from the other two. And
That's about
Kallen,
5 hours west.
Yeah.
a bit further west.
Bit of a travel.
Okay. And we've got Kallen from WA, who's our guest today. And I believe he's got a bit of a story to tell, so we'll get into that very shortly. Has anybody got any wonderful insights or wonderful updates that you want to share with us before we start? Anything striking going on in your world or in the world? Pretty normal up here in Darwin, just not much happening. Not much.
Oh, I think the world. I'd probably want to point out that a lot of synchronicities and stuff are starting to happen. I mean, if you're sort of someone who tunes into the Pam Gregory set, you'd be aware that we've had some fairly significant kind of shifts in the last couple of weeks. So synchronicities and interesting events are abounding. Um, yeah, there's been some odd stuff happening, but I was reading Anna's documents today, so I've got an update up until yesterday, and then I logged on this morning because we're doing this at a different time, and there's another dozen. So if
No.
you think you're going to get them updated, no, that's
Oh,
next
well,
week.
you've let the team down. I thought, oh, but Sarah's busy right now when I saw her.
I was trying, but then I got into a couple of conversations about self-governance and how we should all be handling things and handling ourselves, in this brave new world that we're finding ourselves in, where we're sort of governing away and bringing our own past experiences to bear and forgetting that not everyone has our past experience. So we all need to check ourselves in the mirror and go, hang on, what am I doing here that's possibly ruffling other people up the wrong way, and how might I readdress that? So they've been some of the conversations that I've been having when I wanted to be sleeping in, but no.
Yeah, well, we need like self-governance is a thing, isn't it? But we need
Yeah,
to be having conversations that aren't stuffing up somebody else's
yeah,
self-governance, I
that's
guess,
exactly right.
or igniting them, or what's the word? Triggering,
That's
triggering.
exactly right.
But can I just interject and just say quickly that, but it's kind of how the system works, isn't it? In that, oh, don't say that, you'll offend this person. Don't say that, you'll offend that person. I think it's got to come from the heart and the good intent, but then the other person sometimes has to be like water off a duck's back because I talk about light and dark, but I said it to was talking to a beautiful Sudanese lady the other day and I saw her face drop. But then I kept talking and it was a beautiful conversation. But because I'd used the word dark, not thinking, then she kind of took that negatively. But then when we spoke, it was okay. So I think we can't always be guarded. We've just got to be who we are, but be loving, our intent, loving and but also understanding and forgiving. Because, yeah, sorry.
And there are, it's unavoidable. There are some truths that have to be spoken, I think.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should never punish a man for speaking the truth or a woman for speaking the truth.
that's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. We might get you to broadcast that right across TASA,
Mm,
Yeah.
starters, and the rest of the world after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. the garden's starting to go good over here. Yeah, it was a bit slow at the start, but it's starting to look nice and healthy now, which is
Oh,
good.
right. Is that the community garden, the one with the tractor?
Yeah, the community garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, got heaps of broccolis and cauliflower, cabbages and cauliflowers. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Well, that's good. I hope the tractor's working well. I'm jealous of that
I, I,
tractor.
I broke the tractor,
You broke it.
unfortunately. Yeah,
You'll be popular, Kallen.
so yeah, I think I've done a clutch bearing. I hope I've done a clutch bearing and not a crank. So yeah, I've got to take it apart and have a look.
Oh, right. Well, there will be a little bit of difference in the coinage you need, depending on which one that is.
I think if it's just the clutch bearing, I should be able to get away with just a couple $100. But yeah, hopefully it's that. If not, it might be a write-off.
Oops. Hmm. Um, Righto. Sarah, or Ray, one is, do you want to introduce what Callan's going to talk about? Because I'm not completely up to speed on that. Sarah, you go. You know the
Well,
stuff.
Alan and Alan, Kallen and Albert, probably would have been this time last year. We had a chat to you guys. Northern Australia's had a chat to you guys, and you were just at the point of being able to release some really interesting procedures, I think, Kallen, where you were anyone who is stopped by a policy enforcer on the side of the road for whatever reason, and it's usually a statutory issue, is able to invoice the policy enforcers as per their fee schedule, which would make for an interesting interaction, I believe. So I'll leave it there and you can sort of take it away.
Yeah, so about probably 14 months ago, I believe, Albert was given the travel initiative, Suvan Roadside Travel Initiative, and I got on board with it, and we sort of had some ideas about giving them a handwritten invoice on the side of the road. As they're giving us paperwork, we give them paperwork, sort of thing. And as we sort of looked into it further, we realised that a lot of people aren't going to be confident with speaking with the police, and they'll say the wrong things and stuff like that, which is very easy to do when they've basically just looking for any sort of reason to pin you. So we just wanted to remove any presumptions that they had of who we are or what we're doing. So we decided to put it onto a QR code where it comes up, and yeah, so our credentials are on the QR code, and it also linked up and gave everyone warning of where we are. And yeah, it took away all the presumptions, and it was more of a safety feature than anything, because we don't want anyone being harmed, which can easily happen when you're dealing with those guys. Sometimes they see it as belligerence, even though you're just doing a lawful thing, just going about your day. Some of them in disbelief, they sort of, they can be nasty. So we thought we'd remove any presumptions or assumptions early in the piece by basically having them getting noticed as soon as they scan the QR code. They put an email in to access it, and they get sent an email, and it gets sent to their superiors as well, notifying them that you're being trespassed upon. They're infringing your rights by stopping you for no real reason. And yeah, we sort of got to that bit. I believe Albert started working with the guys over east while I was away, and yeah, we haven't got back into it yet, but we're at the stage where we're going to make a program, so we didn't have to pay the fees to have the app. So Albert was going to write a program to make it all work, just to avoid the fees of the app. But yeah, it was just basically about giving them fair notice, all in one go. So basically, you're showing your credentials, you're removing presumptions, and you're also giving them notice of trespass all at one time while notifying everyone else that's on the email list as well. So
Can
if there
I
was any
just
trouble, people could block there.
can I
Yep.
just butt in there, mate? So you're talking about an email. You're talking about emailing the QR code. Is that right?
No, we had the QR code on bit of on the paper, but we were looking at getting it on a card.
Oh, yeah.
So when they ask you for your identification, which of course we can't do because we don't want to basically be part of the corporate dead entity system. So we hand them the credential card, which has a QR code on it.
Yep.
They scan that. When they scan that, it comes up, enter your email to access it. They enter their email, and then as soon as they do that, they get emailed straight away with a trespass notice and an invoice.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's basically, it also went on a wide alert as well, letting everyone know. I think we could have like 10 emails at once. So with the commissioner, all the seniors in their roles, like the seniors in the police force and stuff like that. So they'd all be notified, and yeah, it would remove the assumptions straight away. Plus, it'd be good. It'd be a good thing to have if it did go further and it took it to court. You can present that and say, "I've removed presumptions straight away. I've done everything possible I could do." And yeah, it was sort of there's a fair bit to do as well before you get to that stage. Like you've got to cancel your driver's license. You've got to notify the travel what do they call it, the road department and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, get it all in writing and have it all recorded. And then we're looking at basically trying to get the ownership of your car or your vehicle. Not your vehicle, your automobile, because the wording is very important as well. So you've got to say things like automobile, travel, things like that. But yeah, when you buy a vehicle, it's already got a VIN plate on it, and I believe it's already been owned by a state. And the original ownership certificate is with the state. So we're looking at trying to bypass that as well. And we were sort of thinking about doing a bill of exchange to each other. Basically, I'll give him some gold, he gives me a car, vice versa. We have a bill, but we still didn't get a hold of the original certificates, the ownership certificates. So that's another bit that we've got to look at just to make sure we've got everything in order, because you miss one thing and they're going to ping you, sort of thing. So I wouldn't recommend it to anyone just yet unless they're really confident and they've got all their ducks in a row. But yeah, I was looking down that path of getting the original ownership certificates, and probably the only way you'd be able to do it by avoiding the government is importing a vehicle directly from the manufacturer. So it doesn't have their ownership certificate with the government. Because yeah, if they've got a certificate, they own it technically, even if we don't register it or we deregister it. Yeah, it's a tricky one, but there's a fair bit to it. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give somebody a job. So we all understand what you're talking about because we're reconveyed, and we know that some of these problems that go along with that. We also understand the benefits. If somebody grabs this video and they have a look at this, they're not going to understand what you were talking about. So who's going to volunteer to begin to explain to a newcomer why this is all relevant to a Terra Australis state national? And I would suggest either Sue or Sarah would be really good at that. No takers?
I nominate Sue.
Well, I embarrassingly had to step away from the computer for a couple of minutes and I missed the start of that conversation. So I may not know what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, well, let me. I do not want to see you embarrassed on this call. So basically, all you would have to explain is why being intercepted by a policy enforcer and wanting to take action against that and treating that as a trespass against us as reconveyed TASA people. Can you explain that in a way that somebody who's not reconveyed and may just pick up the video, can you explain that in a way they can understand why it's important to us?
Well, I can give it a go.
You'll do good. I know
I'll
you
give it
will.
a go. The whole philosophy behind the reconveying is that each of us is being misidentified by our government departments, the current de facto government, as a citizen, which via a birth certificate is a corporate entity. And they have every right to act on their corporate entities as they see fit. Just like if you went to work, in a job for Kmart, when you were there, you would be bound by their rules of conduct while you're at work. And so all Australian citizens do get treated by all those statutes, codes, regulations, whatever, as if they have voluntarily signed up to agree to them. Now, the process of reconveyance is to recognise that our citizenship is not our birthright status. We're literally born of the earth. We're living men and women, and we don't elect to be classified as franchises of any corporate state. So by reconveying, we're literally taking back all the authorities. So we've given no powers of attorney to anyone. We manage our own affairs. We're not slaves of anybody. We're under no contract with them. Once we've done a correct notification process to all those government departments involved. So following through, letting them know means that they are actually in the position where they must treat us as the nationals or the natives of this nation of this earth, this land that we're born on to. But of course, I have empathy for most of the policy enforcers have absolutely no idea that that's what they're doing. They think it does apply to absolutely everyone that comes across their path. So it's very easy for them to get aggressive because they think they're looking at someone they do have authority over. They assume and presume that they do have that right, but they're unaware that they really don't. So we have to very carefully alert them to the fact that they're actually not dealing with one of those corporate entities, and they're unaware that they've been notified of such because their superiors don't tell them, and they don't want them to know. Because if all those police suddenly realise that they were actually committing a trespass against their fellow men and women, I reckon a lot of them will be horrified what they're doing. They're actually breaking the law. So I'm not sure if that clears it up. How did I go, Kallen? Did that help for that?
That was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could add to it a little bit. So with your name, if you've ever looked at a bill, it'll come in different variations of your name. Some will be in capital letters, some will be half capital letters, half lowercase. Some will have initials there. Some will be backwards. Some will be initial backwards, and then your name. And I've got it right in front of me, the different ways and different meanings of the name styles, and it's actually called a naming convention. So the whole government's running a naming convention. And for an example, John Quincy Adams, all lowercase, is a living man endowed with his natural rights. John Quincy Adams, with the first ones in capital letters, just the first letters in capital, is a foreign citizen trust using commercial shipping. John Quincy Adams, all in capital letters, a foreign estate trust. John Q. Adams, with the Q lowercase and the first John and Adams in uppercase, is a public foundation. John Q in uppercase and Adams in lowercase is a cooperative. John Quincy Adams, uppercase, which is the same as up there, is a boat or a ship used in public commerce. John Quincy uppercase and Adams lowercase, a Commonwealth Trust. J. Quincy Adams, J and Quincy in uppercase and Adams in lowercase, a slave owned by Exxon Corporation. J. Q. Adams, J and Q in uppercase and Adams in lowercase except for the first letter, a foreign pauper forbidden to own land. Adams John Q, with the Q in capital letters and just the first letters in capitals, a taxpayer. Adams John Q, all in capital, a soldier. Adams John Q in lowercase is a slave. So just reading off Anna's paperwork here. There's dozens of different meanings that can arbitrarily assigned to anyone's name and used to represent radically different entities. So basically, what they do, it's a big trick. Like if you go to court, they'll read out your name in capital letters, and it's a foreign estate trust or a SESQB account, and basically you're agreeing that that's you when you go to court. Now, it seems like ludicrous, but they actually deem you as insane because you don't know who you are, and then they act on your behalf and manage your trust for you, and then basically they double dip on everything. So they charge it to the trust. That's what they call charges when you get arrested or whatnot. But not only do they charge the trust, they expect you to pay the fees or fines and court costs and stuff like that. So a lot of these things they're doing, they're double dipping big time. A lot of times they're triple dipping. And we're none the wiser, and we're working hard to pay it all off. And for them, it's great because they've got a bunch of great workers and they're making a lot of money out of it. So, I think the average trust is over $100 million, and it started in 1303. And it's been building up for a long time. So they want to get their fingers on it, and they're trying very hard to do it and get a lot of it, and they're doing a pretty good job. So basically, the sovereigns or the nationals, as we call ourselves, we just want to be unincorporated. We don't want to be franchised. We don't want to be born into a business and owned by anyone. Or we don't want to be anyone's property, and we don't want to be paying our bills twice when they're already getting paid for out of a trust account. Now, the interesting thing for me was an eye-opener was at the bottom of your bills, there's a scissor cut-off mark at the bottom, and there's like check numbers at the bottom of your bill. That's actually a check from your SESQB account. So it's like they're sending you out a check, and if you know what to do, you can send it back to them, and it pays for it. But we're none the wiser, so we don't even send it back, and they cash it in, and we basically pay it again, which is a bit insane. But that's a general gist of it. There's probably heaps more to add to that as well.
Yeah. That's very good. Sue, I'm going to put you on the spot more often. Imagine how good you would have gone if you hadn't have got up and got out of your chair and missed that few minutes. I mean,
that might be the secret.
I'm so impressed. I was going to just say after that little talk, I was going to say, what she said. I couldn't really add anything to it.
Well, Kallen did highlight something though. Look how complicated that system is.
Yeah.
You know, I used to want to believe early days when I was waking up that it must be some sort of accident. But there's no way it can be accident. It's intentionally, deliberately crafted that way to enslave us all. They literally feed off our energy. I used to laugh at, they used to have this thing about the useless eaters, or, they used to call people dole bludgers. And I think the biggest useless eaters we've got are these parasites just like sucking off everyone else's energy, everyone else's labor, everyone else's ideas, everyone else's, efforts. And they just take it, hand out. Oh, you've done something great. I'll have that. So feudalism is definitely alive and well.
Sorry, pardon me. The word politics says it all. Many ticks.
Many blood-sucking leeches.
I got the definition of politics when I was very young, and it said it's the art of getting people to do what you want them to do because they think that they want to do it.
Yeah.
So manipulating.
And it's been working very well.
Oh, it's been going on for generations. I mean, this is not something that they dreamed up like last decade. This has been going on since, prior to Queen Anne. So we're going back a long time. And many would say that it comes out of Rome because, anyone who sort of has any knowledge of history knows that Rome didn't fall. It just transferred to America and set up the shop all over again. And it is all based around jurisdictional law, which in jurisdictional law is, we're talking back, that's sort of BC stuff. Land, air, and water. It's been going for a long time, and so there's so many And I think it was one of the things you pointed out, Kallen, with all of the names, like the John Quincy Adams. There's so many moving parts to this. So you kind of think, oh, okay, I've got that part, but then no, there's this other wrinkle over here, and there's that wrinkle here. And I know in TASFA at the moment, there's a bit of a thing about, well, land and soil are two different jurisdictions within the land and soil jurisdiction. And that's causing people to kind of stop and go, oh, hang on, there's more that I have to sort of understand. And it takes a long time for people to wrap their heads around. But I
Yeah.
guess if you wanted a takeaway line, you'd probably say that um, everywhere that everything that we've grown up with, schools, councils, churches, hospitals, everything, that is all sitting in maritime jurisdiction. The W part of LAW law, the water part. Whereas we reconveyed men and women, living men and women, have reconveyed ourselves, moved ourselves back to the L part, the land part of LAW. So we are land, they are water predominantly. You've got air in there as well, but I'm not going to confuse the issue.
Yeah.
They
And
just don't recognize that once you understand jurisdictions, a lot of these guys and women in those roles, like even on local councils and government and stuff like that, they've got no clue. They're just out there earning the food, the money to put food on the table. They're just as much a slave to the system as we are. It's just that we've woken up and they haven't yet. And that's really what it is. So as Sue said, you've got to sort of try and gently and carefully inform them that they're wrong. Now, I think, what do you reckon the percentage is now, Kallen, of policy enforcers that have a clue that they might not be on the right path?
I think a lot of them know, but I think a lot of them tend to shun it because, yeah, it's their job and it's easier just to shun it than acknowledge it. So yeah, it's sort of like it must be in the back of their minds. Because you know what it's like if you're hiding something like that. It's not good. It's not good for you mentally, spiritually. So it must be eating away at them somewhat. But yeah, it's like I suppose sort of like the doctors during COVID. They've done all that work to get where they are. Not going to walk away from their jobs on principle. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. And yeah, if the good ones leave, they just employ someone else that will do it. But yeah, I'm just trying to find a bit of paperwork because I've actually got a bit of paperwork that comes from the Chancery Court, which is the Holy See or the Vatican side of it, which is the Roman side that we were just talking about. And actually, it actually admits in that paperwork that the commercial world is illusory. So basically, the whole law, the whole commercial law, which is the water law, is illusory. It's all fiction.
Well, they
And
call
they
it
admit
legal
it in this
fiction.
paperwork.
Yeah.
And here it is right here. It's so this is at the end of it, but it says here it is. It's just section 3, part 3. Is it all times upon and within the judicial district and the general post office beyond the sea? The soil and land is artificially referred to today as the judicial districts of the county, estate, and is superior to any commercial code imagined in the illusory world of commerce and usury of the said soil and land. So they admit that the whole system is based on usury and illusion.
Yeah.
So basically, they're getting you to admit that you're an entity that's not a living, it's a fiction, it's a construct, and it's to access a trust account that has been building up for many years and many generations, just so they can get their hands on it, because we're none the wiser, and we've been going about our lives, haven't been taught about this stuff, and when you find out about it, it gets very interesting, but it gets deeper than that as well. Like even to be a resident, you can't be a resident of Australia, because if you're a resident of Australia, you're basically you're property of a corporate fiction, because even Australia is a corporation, and it kind of hits you hard. And I had a few moments there I was gut wrenching because I wanted to be proud of my country and proud of my heritage and proud of my granddad that went to war and stuff like that. But then you realise that it's all just corporate mercenary wars, and everything like this, and it's just like, wow, this is what's wrong with the world. We're ran as a business owned by absolute
Yeah.
psychopaths. So, and then you figure out that the whole system is running on perpetual debit. So even if you pay everything back, you pay your bills and stuff like that. You're just adding to the foreign debt of the country. And I think on average, the corporate country goes bankrupt every 30 years.
Mm.
Um,
Cool.
and I don't think there's anything left to give. Like they've used us as security, they've used our cars as security, our property as security. So anything you've registered, anything you've put titles on, any deeds, anything like that is
Your
basically you've
children.
handed it over to them, and now they've securitized it and using it on the stock exchange to get more debt.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness when you figure out what's going on,
I think
and it is complex, and it is a lot to get your head around. But I implore anyone that's listening to have a deeper look, dive into it, because we're not lying. This is facts. We're not crazy. We're far from it. And yeah, it's like it can't keep going like this. It's sort of it hits you. It's like this is what's wrong with the world. This whole system is what's causing all the dramas in the world. I believe it is anyway.
Can I just add something to that, if that's okay? Just going back to you saying that they shun it, I don't actually feel like, not saying you're wrong, but I don't think it's the right word, because I think that a lot of them do know, they just don't know how to handle it. Because I've been speaking direct to people in the bank recently. I say that the Rothschilds, they know the Rothschilds are in control. They know they can't do anything, only what their system has been set up to do. They know, and they're beautiful and beautiful conversations, but they don't know what to do. And it's the same with the insurance companies. It's the same with the police. I legitimately think the gentleman that bashed me now is remorseful, but they do not know what to do. When you send them a letter explaining politely the situation, but they're stuck. And this is the problem. It's finding a solution, because they can't just leave their job. So because I've gone through everything that you've gone through, and even letters come in just in the name Suzanne, you know. So they keep attempting, because they have to do their job, but in order to do their job, they have to keep making guesses, because they're getting pressure from further up. So it's a vicious circle, but it's about, at the end of the day, if the police, they're paying off a house, but if you say to them, well, hang on, if you don't do what you're doing and you stand by the people, who's going to take your house off you, because they use the police to take the house off the people. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I
Hundred
think
percent, 100%. And
yeah.
there is a lot of great people out there, and it's like we say things like the living, and it's absolutely ludicrous, in a sense, because everyone's alive. You know what I mean? Like we're all alive. It's just that the system has deemed us as dead from the start. So if anyone's wondering what we mean by that, that's what we mean, and we don't actually look at anyone like they're really dead or anything like that. That's the illusory world of commerce that's done that, not us. So we see us all as living men and women, and we hope that everyone's got a good heart and stuff like that, and takes it in and does sort of attempt to make a change, or I don't know, do things for the better of everyone, I suppose. But yeah, it's a tricky one. It is. It's a harder path than just ignoring it, I suppose you
Yeah.
could say.
I think the thing is that if you're sort of new to this, you've just fallen across this video. Most people have been designated, as Sue said, by the birth certificate as being a corporation. So they're incorporated. And in the maritime jurisdiction, which is where incorporated beings sit, that's a legal fiction world. Now, as Kallen's just pointed out, and Susie's pointed out, most of these people, they're just men and women as well. So, we say, oh, the council's doing this or the government's doing that. Most of those people are just people like us. They're just trying to get along to, put food on the table, pay their mortgage, etc., etc. And they genuinely are stuck, and they don't know either. They know that things are wrong, but how do we fix it? Because we feel like we've got this behemoth thing that we're trying to fight against. And we have, let's not make any bones about it. We have got a behemoth thing that we're fighting against. And I think that's part of the problem, is that this behemoth doesn't have a soul and it doesn't have a conscience. And it's now so big that it's sort of taken on a life of its own. But every little person that fights back in whatever way, whether that's writing your letters to council, whether that's, as Kallen and Susie have, and Kallen's coming on next week to talk about this, as he's spent time at His Majesty's pleasure, also for something that really didn't warrant it. So we're going to talk about that next week. But I think those people, anyone that pushes back to council, anyone that doesn't pay a fine, anyone that sort of stands up and goes to a market and informs other people and says, hey, you realize that this is actually wrong. People are actually starting to wake up a lot faster now. They're starting to go, things are going wrong. That's helped by the fact that this debt system, which you're absolutely right, Kallen, is a complete, it's just a complete schmozzle. It is literally falling apart. The wheels are falling off. They don't have enough money to back up the debt that they have. There is not enough money, gold and assets in the world to back up the debt that these corporations that we call government have accrued. So just about every single government around the world is a corporation. I say just about because there's a few around in the Middle East and Africa that are not. They are actual people of the government by the government. They are groups of people who are land-based governments. They're not corporations, and certainly America now has assemblies on all 50 states, and that is true American governance, okay, by the assemblies. So, but all of the, up until 4 years ago, 6 years ago, all of the governments were just big businesses like McDonald's or KFC or Bunnings. Now, you wouldn't expect Bunnings or KFC to come in and start throwing its weight around in your house and saying you can't do this and you've got to do this before you have dinner. And you'd go, naff off. No, go away. Well, the government is just like that, literally just like that. And yet they have crept into so many aspects of our lives. And I think partly that's their undoing, is because they've become so overbearing. People are like, this is insane. And they're starting to really feel uncomfortable with it. And then the pandemic came and whatever. But I do think things are changing. I mean, apart from anything else, we started at the start of the call. Energies are shifting. Lies can't really withstand much scrutiny anymore. People are seeing through things a lot more quickly. So I have a lot of hope for the future. And it's people like Kallen and Albert and what they've come up with. And it's just, again, it's another little pushback. And even though it might just be one little pushback, collectively, when you put it together with all of the others, it actually starts to really make a big effect at bringing this system, this soulless behemoth, down so that we can actually get back to people being governed by ourselves and by people in our community, which is how it should be.
Yep.
You?
And you're looking at a small group of state nationals here and you're listening to all that information. Well, we're not the only small group of state nationals that are sitting around having a conversation like this. We're having this today so that we can do something with it, but it's common talk in our circles. Now, if you just stumbled onto this video and you hear what we're talking about and you think there's maybe something wrong in the world, but you can't put your finger on it, I would suggest you probably go back to the start and listen to all this again. And all those names, poor old John Quincy, fair dinkum. There's more than a dozen ways that poor old John was getting ripped off. Every one of those names relates to a trust. And those trusts have got a lot of money in them. And what they're doing, one will relate to your power bill, your phone bill, or some other bill. There's your medical stuff. They all relate to different parts of that. And they're extracting the money, as Kallen said, they're extracting the charge out of those trusts based on how poor old John's name's been put together. But they're charging poor old John as well.
Mhm.
That's the problem, you see. They're getting paid twice. Poor old John's got to work his bum off just to stay in front. And while you're trying to take that in, just swap John Quincy Adams for your own name, because that's what they're doing to you. That's what they've been doing to all of us for a long, long time. And we've now woken up, some of us, and we're waking up. More people are waking up every day. Momentum is building, I believe, and there is a solution to this. There will be a solution, but the first thing that you have to do is get a little bit of understanding, work out what reconveyance is, find somebody near you and start talking about reconveyance, find somebody that is reconveyed and learn a bit more. So that's been a very, very interesting conversation. Ray, we haven't heard from you today. I've got a sensor that says when I feel somebody wants to put their hand up and they haven't done it, and my sensor is saying that you really wanted to put your hand up, you just haven't done it. Is that right, or am I wrong?
No, but while we are here, can I tell a quick dad joke?
Hey?
Can I tell a quick dad joke?
Oh, you're going to tell a joke?
Can I?
Keep it light.
Yeah.
All right. What do you call a factory that produces average products?
I don't know.
A satisfactory. Ha ha ha.
I don't tell dad jokes often, but when I do, he laughs. It's pretty bad.
Oh dear. Righto, well, you better leave your hand down, Ray, I think. My intuition was totally wrong, eh?
Do you mind if I quickly add in something really quick about governance, like to simplify a bit? Like if we look at the government, like body corporate, for instance, like we pay thousands of dollars for these body corporates to look after properties. I know people that their building gets together and they choose someone within their building to be that body corporate. So you don't have to have an outside. So as opposed to a small little thing working together with others rather than a government governing everything, because I just from my own experience, I pay body corporate for all my ex-partner does. But when you find out that there's actually buildings that actually do their own governance of their own building as opposed to, outsourcing it all to one giant power like the political system. Yeah.
Yep. Self-governance, the word that could almost have been the word.
Self-governance. Yeah.
Yeah, self-governance. So important.
I'd like to just explain to people listening just like what's actually going on from a base level pretty much. So I'd just like to let them know about so the Roman municipal side is Commonwealth of Australia, all capital letters. That's half of the corporation. And the other half is Australia, INC, and that is the British territorial side or the Universal Military Justice Code. So one's UCC, which is the Roman side, Universal Commercial Code, and the other one's UCMJ, which is Uniform Code Military Justice and Uniform Commercial Code. So yeah, we've got one side that's the Commonwealth of Australia in capital letters, and the other one's Australia just written normally, INC. British and Romans own the whole lot. I tried to find out who were the main shareholders in it, and it said the top 21 shareholders in Australia, INC, can't be disclosed because they're on a different jurisdiction. And when you get land jurisdiction, you call yourself private. It's private because it's none of their business, because you're not part of the business anymore. So basically, the people that have all the money and all the power and all the corner are actually on land jurisdiction. It seems, because they're private and that it can't be disclosed who the top 21 shareholders are. So I found that very interesting. I was looking into that.
Yeah, Rock and Rod has done a lot of research on that and gets a lot of information spiritually regarding that. He's worked with Rebecca, and they've closed down a lot of corporations. They keep moving the goalposts. Like they get corporations shut down. He sends documents, which is a lot of it spiritually constructed, and he just keeps closing corporations down. They open them up. So it's they're building on the fly just like we are. So
yeah,
and everyone knows, like, if you want to run a business, you set up through like a trust and a PTY Ltd or whatever it is, and basically whoever's in charge or whoever owns it, the business can go liquidated, but they can take all the money and start again the next day with a different business name. So there's fundamental flaws in it from top to bottom. And yeah, if anyone's ever wondering, like, I always wondered, like, how can people just go bankrupt? Surely they're not just going to let that money slide. But it turns out that they're actually loaning you your money out of your trust account. So of course you can go bankrupt and start again, because it was your money to start with. These big banks, if that was their money that they were lending you, there's no way in the world they'll let people go bankrupt. And then 5 years later they can start again, or whatever it is. So yeah, even when you get the Centrelink, it's out of your trust account. So yeah, even the wealth they're giving back is ours anyway. So the whole system's fundamentally flawed.
that's why they brought in director's ID, Kallen, to actually try and stop that. But it was a double-edged sword, because it was to try and stop people from doing that, because it was very prevalent in the marketing industry, in the wholesale marketing industry. But the double-edged sword is it also now is protecting the actual people committing the crime, the owners of big corporations, the owners of the police, the owners of the government. Yeah, double-edged
Okay,
sword.
so we're just starting to get a little bit deep here. So, and we will run out of time, and we've got some other stuff to do. Sue, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I want to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here.
Oh, that'd be right.
Well, people have to think. There's always more questions than there is answers in this life. Now, Kallen, you said about the Australia Inc., and you tried to look up the main shareholders. Is it possible that we, the living men and women, are the private entities that actually own the wealth of that corporation? And that's why they redefine us as something else, so we never come back to claim it. And that's where the wealth sits. And that's why they need our permission to keep cranking up the debt. That's why they're constantly asking you if you're that name. Yep, I'm that name. Great. We're going to put another $10,000 debt onto you and to create that extra debt. Anyway, just throwing it out there, just to make sure your head hurts a lot by the end of the call.
Because that's what we aim for, people's heads hurting.
We're trying to give people a headache. And by the way, we just sold a boatload of coal, and when we get paid for that, that'll go into your trust account so that we can say, yeah, you got paid, except you're never going to see it. We will, though. The bad guys will.
Well, that's because they have power of attorney to manage those accounts on our behalf. Mainly because we signed up to be voters and we gave away that right to manage those estates for ourselves. We've said, no, we don't want to do it too hard. We give you power of attorney to manage it all for us.
And the other thing too, and Kallen said something a while back, and he said, you don't want to be a resident, because if you break down the word resident, res is thing and ident is you identify as a thing. So you're identifying as a thing or an asset to the corporation. Citizens, if you go back to the Roman word of citizen, which is where it comes from, citizens were slaves, answerable to their masters and, subject to their master's whims. If the master wanted you to die, you died, which is when we come back, and I just want to touch on when Kallen said about, all the people who've lived and died literally for this country, and that's part of the reason that Australia got nationhood in the first place, separate from England, was because Billy Hughes went over and quite rightly said, we've bled for the Commonwealth. We've earned our stripes. We are a country. We are a nation. And we gave up more than any other nation in the world for good. And so we were granted nationhood status at that point in time. And that's when we first should have seized control of, the people working, governing the people. And we didn't. We missed the opportunity because we didn't really know what it meant. So, and I've pointed out to a friend of mine, I said, and he's military. And I said, it's just a shame that every single war has been a banker's war and people have died needlessly because one country, one government owed another government money. And so they paid it in blood by sending off their soldiers to war. And, and then claiming on the life insurance, it's horrific. But I said, it doesn't change the fact that those men and women died in honour because they died for what they believed in. And they believed, and they, to a certain extent, they were right. They were protecting the freedom of us and all of the people back home. And so it takes away nothing from those men and women that died because they died for not the right reasons, but they died defending what they believed, and that what they believed was our freedom. And it's just a damn shame that our freedom has been incrementally taken away from us. And I think that that's because collectively the population of the world is growing in maturity. Collectively, we don't want war. Collectively, we know that we don't hate each other. Everyone mostly just wants a nice life. And we're tired of it. We're tired of people pushing us around. And that's why they've kind of gone, we can't have war to claim things. So we've now got to get people's agreement through misdirection and lying and all that kind of stuff. So now they're trying to do it through digital ID and other things like that. But I yield. Ray wants to.
It's also spiritually time to move on as well. So my intuition was right because I saw you had your hand up, Ray, and then you took it down again. Are you playing some sort of a game or what?
No. I was just waiting. That's all. Waiting for when the time is right, when you're free,
the time is right now. So.
No, I was just going to say, it's interesting what Sarah was saying, and this is what I've been on about for decades now. This is all manipulation by design, and I can see how they've done it, how they've conditioned people, because even in the freedom movements, I've noticed there's still a lot of unpacking to do where people don't realize the scale of the lies. What I've noticed is when something affects them directly or their environment directly, they take interest, but they don't see the big picture, that this is a collective thing. This is a death cult in operation across planet Earth. Now, just very quickly, how they did it in the modern West is when they falsified the history books and this and that, and then, they taught, for example, in America that the ancestors were pioneers and explorers and discoverers and builders of civilization, and everybody else is backward and needs taming and needs civilizing. You've got them. And then as you go through the education curriculum, the media and everything like that, you start to develop divide and rule so that everyone is up against each other. And then within each community, you start getting them. Within families, you start getting them so that no one challenges the big fish, right? And that's exactly what they want. And this is why I say it calls for discernment, and it calls for getting out of our comfort zones, because if we knew the scale of what is still going on collectively, I think we would still be beyond shocked. I yield.
You're right. If I have knowledge and I don't pass it on to my children, when I die, that's gone. That's gone forever, and it's that quick, one generation. And you can wipe out heaps of stuff. And that's what's happened. Our parents and grandparents didn't pass it down because they bloody didn't know. So it's a clever scheme. But
I think it's a bit more than that. Oh, sorry, Wayne. No, sorry.
go, Susie, but don't be too long because
No, I won't.
one attempt to divert this.
No, okay.
Actually, and
No, that's okay. I think it's a little bit more than just that because like my mum was medicine, I'm natural, my daughter's medicine. It's the education system also saying your parent is out of date. There's new science. It was said to me, and that sent me back to natural, and I saw what was happening to my mum, whereas my daughter is medication because the education taught her the same. So it's the education system as well. It's not. I don't blame parents. I blame the system, not anyone. Yeah.
Exactly. Ray, quickly, you've got your hand up again.
No, I was just going to say that also we're dealing with a death cult because the thing is, like, whenever you talk to the average person on the street or the average living soul on the street, the first thing they're going to say about the modern world is all this technology that we have, all the gadgets that we have, as if that legitimizes all the criminality that's going on across the planet. But I think, well, if we think about it, even the technology began in the killing sector, in the military, to kill each other before it comes down into the private homes that we all have. So it's sort of like the conditioning can be so powerful that even when you're dealing with something other than, say, sovereignty and all of this and that, it's amazing how even in the freedom movement, I've noticed that at some point, Gulf Coast programming kicks in and people are very, very, very Gulf Coast programming. And I give you one example. One good example is the demonization of Islam, right? Because of the fact that all of this demonization, people have got this Gulf code kicking in. And the irony is a lot of the concepts, spirituality, and resources that we have that's whitewashed originates in that civilization. I yield.
There you go. I knew Islam would get another mention, and you will be able to go to bed happy now.
We've got to start off his spin-off. We've got to start it up. I know.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to Anna's docs, I think one of the things that you said, Wayne, was that that we don't tell each other, we don't inform our young, and that was started way back in the Industrial Revolution, like when they started to take farmers, or fathers, I should say, off the paddocks and off the farms and put them in factories away from their children. And it's been, and that's why I say this has been centuries in the making, this whole criminality thing. But that's where it started, because oral tradition is very big, and it's very hard to forget those stories that you hear around the fire when you're a little kid, or around your mum and dad when you're a little kid, and they tell you things. But when you outsource raising your children to whatever, because the system demands that everyone has to have two incomes now to live in I was watching Selling Houses Australia last night. In the pandemic, up in Linfield in Sydney, I know this is totally off base, 2.3 million was a bargain basement price for a house. Like, that's insane. That's nuts. 2.2 million. And that was bargain basement. Oh, Jesus Christ. People have got way more money than I have.
Should have snapped it up.
Yeah. But that's why you need two incomes forever just to get into housing. And that's this trap that we're all on, this hamster wheel. And it's what it's designed to do is to break down the family movement. And it's all part of, and people go, oh yeah, that's the Communist Manifesto. And they're absolutely right. It is the Communist Manifesto. The Communist Manifesto is just the latest way to separate all of us individually from source, which is, our connection to the divine. So That's just my hot take.
Okay, well, we'll go on to the anecdotes. One last comment. The biggest problem that we have to overcome is really, from my way of thinking, is people's mindset and belief system to get people to a point where they're open to actually listening what people like us have got to say. People are so indoctrinated that it's just so hard to get past that. That's the final word. We will now move on. Sarah, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, yesterday I looked at them and I thought, oh, yep, that's good. I'm up to date. And I looked at them this morning and she's put out another dozen. So I've done a few more, but they're not completely up to date. I apologize for that, but it is what it was. And this is the other thing too, just, adding on to what you were saying, Wayne, was that, people want things like right now, right this second. They don't want to have to think, and there's no time to have the conversation, and you need to be able to converse. But anyway, Anna never has a problem with words. So here we go. So the first one from the 4th of July was a Granabites, and it was obviously about the 4th of July. And so what she was saying is that 4th of July is a uniquely American holiday in which they observe the freedom that was hard won from the British. We realise that the Brits are still committing the same crimes today, but now, once again, we are winning our freedom from them. We celebrate the melting pot that is America with the global influence that we take in our stride every day. And what she's talking about with, all of these different, and we have it here on Terra Australis too. We've got, great coffee. We've got, we would say, good pizza. The Italians would probably have a heart attack. But we've also got fantastic Thai food. We've got Lebanese food. We've got food from America. We are a melting pot also. Lots of African influence coming in. And we reflect that the 5th of July is when we once again pick up the reins of governance to ensure that we are vigilant against those who would plot against us. And we thank divine providence that we have eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the wisdom to know what to do in the face of such criminality. The next one is an international proclamation of the New Age, in which she talks about us moving out of the age of Pisces, so think duality, deception, illusion, imagination, and into the age of Aquarius, which is analytical, precise, logical, and truthful. Healing will come to all, lies will be exposed, and anyone who tries to continue in the old ways will find themselves unable to do so. Clarity and planetary coherence will become the norm. People will understand that to hurt anything or anyone else is to hurt themselves. The new energies of brotherly love, abundance, and freedom are flowing. And she has got a video which she attaches that, which we can use to rid ourselves of the older energies and embrace the new. So again, that'll be under the video when it goes up on YouTube. The next one, international public notice, is Global Family Bank. The number of banks that have been unlawfully converted to maritime banks from land banks is almost overwhelming when weighed up next to the number of actual land banks left. Even most credit unions, which were always land-based, have been converted without the managers knowing. Additionally, there is not enough assets and collateral to support the amount of debt that has accumulated in the current banking system. Central banks are illegal commodity rigging institutions that have been given license to operate by people that don't have the authority to issue the licenses. At around the time that Anna realised all of this, she met Hunter Aki and discussed with him the very urgent need to create more land-based banks to serve the needs of living men and women. She described her bilateral banking system idea with the assets, which is gold and AFD, on one side, and the credit owed to us and our grandparents, which is the prosperity credit, on the other. Hunter agreed to set up a system that will return our wealth to us, all of us, not just Americans, but worldwide. Anna chartered the Global Family Bank as an international trade bank. So it was chartered on the land, but as an international trade bank using international land jurisdiction, then followed by chartering the Global Family Commercial Bank, the Global Family Bank of Commerce, and the Global Family Prosperity System, all under American public charters and American law, land law, maritime law, admiralty law, treaties, sovereign letters patent, and covenants. So she covered all of the jurisdictions. Although everyone laughed at her, last week they all decided she was right. And I'm presuming this means the Bank of International Settlements, etc., etc. The central banks, needless to say, are not happy about this as it exposes their criminality. Anna reiterates, and remember that the central bank's guys are the Rothschilds. Essentially, that's what they are. Anna reiterates that she is absolutely not stopping any money from being returned to the rightful recipients, that is us. However, the Brits have finagled a company called Go New Earth, and we're going to hear a bit more about this over the next few documents, headed up by Judge Adrian Fonzie, and he and the people working with him have used Anna's name and rubber stamped some things that they shouldn't have. So basically, that's the start of this whole issue. The next one is a Granabite, and she's been saying for years that she is a seraphim, and a seraphim, for those who don't know, is a warrior angel. And she's stated it many times. The three major religions, so Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, took out pretty much a hit on her. They got three people and they said, go and take her out. And they sent three assassins to finish her off. And apparently the assassins went back to the people that paid them, gave their money back and said, no, we're not doing this. They were petrified by what they saw. They weren't going to do it. They weren't going to put themselves out there like that. Seraphims remember what the original intent and purpose of Earth is and was. So Anna is here to oversee the transition away from the false matrix that we're currently sitting in back to true Earth, and she represents Source. So she's basically just saying, look, you can try, but it's not going to work. International public notice, and this is where we talk about the New Earth Alliance. So there's a lot of New Earthy stuff going around at the moment. So the New Earth Alliance was created to ensure that the Davila Family Trust, which has been managed by the Roman Catholic Church for over 500 years and not achieving anything towards what it was given to the Roman Catholic Church to look after, they haven't done anything about achieving its ends. So the Davila Family Trust was created so that they could finally make the trust money available to the world to end poverty and ignorance. And this was all starting to work out when the trustees of the air and maritime sections, so you'll remember a week or so ago, we talked about the fact that Anna is the land trust manager of the family trust. Then there was also the air and the maritime parts of the trust. They're not a committee, they just have their separate sections to work on. So the trustees of the air and maritime sections went off and created a British Crown Corporation franchise called Go New Earth. So not New Earth Alliance, but Go New Earth. And a Roman municipal corporation called GNE Inc. in all caps. Then they used Anna's name and a flimsy connection to the New Earth Alliance, which is what she had set up with the Davila guy. What's his name?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can't think of it either, Sarah.
No.
Julius Shiver.
Thank you.
That's
Julius
it.
Shiver. So she and Julius came together and did this New Earth Alliance. Then these other two trustees ran off to the British Crown. They set up a New Earth, or Go New Earth corporation, and they used Anna's name and rubber stamped, because they said, oh no, it's still New Earth. They used Anna's name to grant the entirety of Africa to themselves as their territory. So they basically said, oh yeah, Anna's told us it's okay to take Africa. That's okay, we're fine. And are acting as senior administrators of a bank chartered by the American government. Anyone, and that's the American other government, like the corporation government. Anyone who joins the Go New Earth Private Member Association is unknowingly becoming a British subject in South Africa, which puts a lot of people on, and she puts a lot of people on notice in this. She lets a lot of people know, and I could go through it, but that's okay. You can go and have a look yourself. So Granabites is the next one. And then she talks about the inescapable mission. And this is where we come back into Earth Angels and Bridge Souls. And we've talked about Earth Angels before. So we're going to go back into that one. And she says, modern humans were created using the dust of the earth and DNA from a Sumerian god. Now, before you think that that's crazy, I would advise you to go and do some research. She's not the only person that's saying this. This has been well documented by quite a few different sources. one of whom is, his name escapes me, but he has done significant research in the Vatican. Some humans also carry special abilities and missions, which is part of their heritage. They are referred to as bridge souls. Right about now, those bridge souls and the earth angels are waking up to their mission, and there are 11 points that they might become aware of. There's actually 10. One of them kind of crosses over two. First, weirdness is happening. It really is. If you're out there and there's odd things happening, there's weird synchronicities and stuff like that, it's not just you, it's happening. Okay, and it's real. Don't think it's just your imagination. 2, pay attention to your intuition and your inner voice, because generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, it's going to be right. 3, you're not crazy. Whatever you might be getting is unusual, but you're probably not wrong. 4, there is a massive energetic transition coming for everything on earth, and you are preparing for it. 5, although it might be scary, you just need to trust. You are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Even if you're just sitting there sunning yourself outside and you're going, this is weird, that's okay. That's where you're meant to be. 6, align yourself with the truth, no matter how weird or crazy or nut jobby it sounds. If you stick with the truth as you know it, you'll be fine. 7, if you get messages that are weird or unusual, don't feel that you have to share them with others. The messages will be for you. And if you do need to tell someone, that will be, if you feel that you have to tell someone or share something that you've heard or seen or felt or whatever, it's because they need to know it. Okay. So again, this comes back to trusting yourself and your intuition. 8, physical symptoms are happening. Aches and pains for no reason, inexplicable tiredness, vision issues, appetite changes. This is all part of your body adjusting to the Aquarian energy. And 9 is, she talks about youthening. People are developing more strength, their balance is getting better, they're starting to feel younger, they've got better grip on things, their hair might be recoloring and moving away from grey, and they have more energy overall. So that was 9 and 10 mushed together. And 11, and I haven't had this one, but there she talks about a tone in the background, and she said some people might think it's tinnitus, some people might just hear it as a bit of a buzz or something. And she said, you know, if you just relax, it'll fade away again. But if you don't notice it right now, and you haven't heard it, just take note because it will be important. Okay. And she ends up that Granabites by saying you are becoming healthy, wealthy, and wise. Then we've got international public notice, and this is a reply to Go New Earth. So when she put out the big document about New Earth, she said, no one at Go New Earth is being called a bad person. Go New Earth has, unwittingly or otherwise, they've teamed up with the British Crown Corporation and are in the business of pulling everyone back into the system, which many of us have just reconveyed out of. So she talks about the fact that it's a question of jurisdiction more than anything else. If you don't know who you are or the political standing of the organisation that you are joining, whether they are land, maritime and air, then you stand to be tricked again. And she's saying, and she's reminding everyone that commercial banks are in maritime, not on the land. So if it's a commercial bank, it's not for living men and women. Could be for your straw man, but it's not for a living man or woman. And then international public notice. This is a brief note to the doubters. And she goes all through the crime and the fraud, step by step. You know, we've all seen it and heard it. Then she reminds countries that they can take back their power and return lawful governance, as has been done in Burkina Faso. And if you've been following along with the African situation, there's a channel that we've put up before, and it gives quite a good breakdown. But Burkina Faso has pretty much just taken all of the corporate leaseholdings of farmers that they had with the previous government, and they have actually restored the land back to the farmers. No questions asked. Here's your land. Go for it. Do what you need to do. So they're not answerable to any corporation for what they do on their farm. All quasi-governments are jointly owned by the British Crown Corporation and the Roman Catholic Church. If the church was doing its actual duty, it would dissolve all of these corporations, because they're actually running amok and they're not doing what they should be doing, and they're hurting people. If they dissolved all the corporations, then the assets could be returned to lawful governance, which has to be set up in order to receive the assets. And the military is reminded that it is its duty to its duty is to the people of the country, not to the government. So she's putting that in there. She's saying, okay, military, you all need to remember that you actually are supposed to protect the people. That's where we got to. Now, in and around that, people who have been following along from home and doing your own, like looking at your own stuff, you would be aware that Anna has since come out from then, and she has basically said that Hunter Aki has been stood down from Global Family Bank. Terry Sam is having a roundtable meeting today, I believe. And I would imagine that there is probably more of an urgency for countries to set up their governance structures so that they can take, because we're in the process, or it sounds like she's in the process of actually, the Vatican is going to have to start dissolving corporations, which means that debt or that credit has to go somewhere. So that's why there's a bit of a push on at the moment to set up a structure, certainly here on Terra Australis. And we are having discussions around that, which are ongoing. And yeah, so that's kind of the end out of all of that. There are other notices there, but I haven't sort of gone into them. But that's one of them, was she was saying effective immediately, Hunter was being stood down. So obviously Hunter has joined up with the British Crown Corporation and decided to pull us all back into the sea. Nice of him. And that's been stopped, which is good. So we now need to start figuring out who we are and doing the research and working out jurisdictions and looking at what we're actually going to do and start becoming active again. So there was a lot in there. And I'm still like 6 off being finished with all the documents at least. So, but she's jumping a lot between what's actually going on in, the world of men and also what's going on in the world of spirit. So the two are connecting and clashing and stuff. There's a lot of intertwining at the moment. So it's, we all need to step up and start embodying all of who we are. And that's all the aspects of us. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Sarah. Once again, a very good job of breaking all that down. I read all those and more, and it's easy to get lost in there. Kallen, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, mate. I just thought I might just finish off with some hard-hitting things, just in case there's people listening that aren't fully convinced. I've got a photocopy from a law book written right in front of me, and this first one is from canon law, and it's pretty hard-hitting. It basically says, your name, when spelled in all capital letters, is a corporation. Assess QV Trust. And that's just straight up in the book. And then the next, just a little bit down further, number 19, it is not the duty of police to protect you. Their job is to protect the corporation and arrest the code breakers. And that's from a case, Sapper versus Tallahassee. So yeah, just some hard-hitting facts that would make you wonder, get you thinking anyway.
Yeah, it's real, Kallen, isn't it? It's real.
Yeah, it's real. I just want, if anyone's sitting on the fence out there and they're not convinced, that's straight out of the law book. So yeah, it's all there.
So there you go. Thank you, Kallen. So has anybody got anything else to add, or will we begin to wind down? I've got one little announcement to make. About an hour ago, I received a message to say, hey, Wayne, spoke with Jody Lowe. He said yes at a date, time that fits in with his work. So Jody Lowe is definitely going to join us on our little show. We just have to call him. I've been given his phone number. We just have to have a yarn to him and work out the timing. So that's good. I look forward to that. Working with other peace, what do we call ourselves? Peacekeeping, not peacekeeping.
Freedom people in the freedom movement. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work out there.
Yeah, I had the wrong word. I was going peace. I should have been going freedom. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to happen. We're just not sure yet until we talk to Jody and work out a date.
So just to give you a bit of an idea, I think Kallen has agreed to come back next week and talk to us about his experiences.
Yep.
I think the week after that, I've lined up Teresa. I've got to confirm with her, but she's going to talk about the education stuff that she's been doing with kids and her podcast and stuff like that. She's loving that. Then I think we're talking to Glenn about coming and talking to us about copper.
I look forward to that one, yeah.
So, so there's that one. And where's my list of people? Then I think we could probably, I haven't actually spoken to anyone specifically after that about any of the other things. So we could put Jody in there if you like, but I've got quite a few people lined up to do.
I'll flick you Jody's number because you're looking after the timetable, so you can talk to him and work that out.
So yeah, but we've got some really interesting people coming up over the next couple of weeks. So talking about a range of different things, but I think the commonality is that we're all looking to be free. We're all looking to, just live our lives the best way we can without having government breathing down our neck. And apparently, Wayne, we've got to tell people to like and subscribe.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Look, a point I'd like to make here. It's important. You said it all there. Look, if you like what you heard here today, if you could hit the like and subscribe button, that would help us to get more followers. That would help us to get the word out. And that would be really, really wonderful. And thank you for that reminder, Sarah. And you can remind me again next week as well.
Yeah.
I'll probably forget.
But we'll put contact details for us in the chat below, and the videos from Anna's documents up until the last one I read out. We'll put them all in the link as well. Yep. She usually puts a couple of videos in there that people can go and watch, and quite often they're very informative. So, yep, that'll all be in there. And yeah, so look forward to seeing you all again next week.
Yep. And thank you all for your time and for your energy and your input. It's been a really good call today. I've enjoyed that. A lot of information shared there. A lot of heavy stuff, but hey, take notice. Kallen's gone sideways there, I see.
Anita will be excited. He's out in the garden.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Having said all that, appreciate and love you all, and we will sign off right now with this little red button. Goodbye.